This week on C Plus News Time, in our first post-Halloween episode, I'm coming down from a high initiated by that sweet, sweet clear crystal rock known as sugar. MoviePass is back in the news again, and it is not good. They updated their terms of service with language that is a bit anti-consumer, or should I say anti-gaming the system consumer. Also, TV writers' rooms are still drastically underrepresented by women and people of color. Not only that, showrunners are predominantly white, and basically all of the networks aren't doing anything to diversify. These are the problems of our time, and it's making me mad as heck. All of this sugar is getting me wound up. I could do something crazy. I'm going to go tear TV a new one while showing MoviePass what it means to run a movie watching service only on News Time. Wait, and it's coming down. I feel like crap.
It's C Plus News Time, delivering to you the news you didn't know about, the news you didn't care about, and the news you didn't know you cared about. With host, Chad White. Now, here's that host, Chad White.
Hey, Vin? Yeah, it's your doctor. Your test results came back. Turns out you're made up of about 70% Corona. Yeah, humans are mostly made up of water, but you're essentially a sentient crappy beer. Welcome back to C Plus News Time. I'm your host, Chad White. This is the comedy news you didn't know about for the week of October 30th, 2017. Now first, I have got to mention this crazy MoviePass ordeal. Jesus, okay. I've done a story on the company before. Too Long Didn't Watch. Audiences can subscribe to the service that will send them a special debit card, allowing them to see one movie per day for a low, low price. When it was revealed widely to a new audience with its newfangled $10 per month price structure, people went wild. The business grew exponentially in a matter of days in late August, and you should know it's serious when I use a word I haven't used since high school geometry. But then in September, MoviePass had trouble with fulfilling all of those new card orders. It had to employ an entirely new company to help produce them. Now, pretty much everyone who wanted a card has one. That should be in the story, right? Wrong. MoviePass, our supposed savior against high ticket prices, instituted one of the worst caveats I've seen in my entire life. Unearthed by Reddit user Viperus, MoviePass updated its terms of service. And if you unsubscribe from the service now, you will have to wait 9 months until you can sign back up. What the actual duck? I get they're trying to bypass people who'd abuse MoviePass by signing up for 1 month and seeing a bunch of movies, unsubbing, and doing it all again 2 months later. But come on, it's ridiculous, and it's a snide way to keep people subs forever. Another thing, you have to submit your cancellation request in writing through their customer service. It's still very much a hands-on tight ship over there, and that is not a good thing. Of course, that's not the only change, although these next few are way more reasonable. Violations of terms of service can yield some pretty nasty results. One of the ways you can do so here is buying tickets for a reason other than watching a movie. The example they give is earning loyalty points. MoviePass can also fault audiences for not sitting through the entirety of a movie, which I assume means leaving when there's a substantial chunk left, not when you arrive late or leave during the credits. Also, you can only walk out of a movie once a month. But really, if you own a MoviePass and anticipate watching all movies, then you have no reason to walk out. You're the exact proof why Geostorm exists. And the company says it can charge a $25 penalty fee if they find you using your MoviePass to buy other things at the kiosk in lieu of a regular priced 2D ticket. Fair enough. I get it, MoviePass. You're a new business, but you can't pull shit like this cancellation thing. It's coming off as petty, and I am the king of petty. Once when I was embarrassed by a college professor calling me out for calling her out in class for misnaming a movie and its actor, I spent the remaining of the hour finding the movie and interjecting into a separate conversation that she was wrong, this is true, providing the pictured evidence that I was fucking right, you bitch. Excuse me. I'm sorry about that. MoviePass, chill out with this low-brow cancellation policy. Reduce the amount of months people are banned from the service, please. Our second story concerns late night writers, and I'm not talking about myself when I write scripts at the late at night for my own benefit. Please somebody read them. I worked on them hard, really hard, please. On a separate show I called On Comedy, I once did a story on late night improv and podcasting's problem with diversity. In it, I gave some specific numbers on late night writer numbers for women and colored people in the then 7 or 8 different late night programs. Fallon's Tonight Show and Colbert's Late Show were among the highest offenders, with only 2 people out of 24 being a woman or person of color for the former, and 2 women out of 19 people, period, for the latter. Along with those numbers, at that point in September of 2016, the nightly show hadn't been canceled, which meant that 8 women of color out of the 155 total people wrote in late night. A new study from Dean of UCLA's Social Sciences and Professor of Sociology and African American Studies, Darnell Hunt, working in conjunction with the racial injustice organization Color of Change, have found some more recent startling numbers for TV overall. A measly 4.8% of writers in TV are black. Of the 234 scripted shows sampled from the 16-17 season, making for a total of 3,817 writers, that means there were only 183 black writers. 2/3 of the shows had 0 black writers. These white-led rooms made up 69.1% of the total. The other third were most likely hired by black showrunners, a group that only makes up 5.1% of the entire pot. The study was conducted across 18 networks from broadcast to cable and streaming. Another alarming note is that shows and networks with bullshit diversity slots aren't utilizing them to their fullest. And if you're like me and you want to write man or woman and any other color than white, these positions are a way for us to land a seat in the writer's room. But these may be the one and only stop for up-and-coming writers. According to Hunt, diversity programs aren't working to, quote, create success tracks for talented people of color in the industry, or create the range of authentic representations and stories on television that we need to sustain a healthy society. Allow me to ask one question then. What the heck are they good for? Diversity spots become these black holes, pun not intended, for colored writers by what Hunt describes as, quote, giving the appearance of inclusion. As shows cycle through them for the season so that showrunners get them, quote, free of charge. What becomes of the colored writer? They toss them aside like a used razor only to do it all over again. Hunt adds the scheme, quote, limits the ability of any critical mass of writers of color to build seniority over time, which is so important for building influence in writers' rooms. Additionally, rooms without colored writers, or what the report dubs isolated rooms, tend to depict stereotypical black characters on screen, while included rooms, those with at least 3 writers of color, and liberated rooms, those with black showrunners and 5 or more black writers, have nuanced black characters. Color of Change executive director Rashad Robinson writes in the foreword about the possible solution, saying, quote, presently, however, there are no incentives within the industry and not nearly enough leverage outside of it to change the storytelling practices that lead to so much harm. It all comes down to changing the conditions that presently sustain those practices, i.e. the balance of power in writers' rooms. Here are more stats pulled by split-sided writer Meg Wright. 91% of showrunners are white. Their job, by the way, is to be the creative management for the entire show. Along with 5.1% of them being black, 3.9% are people of color, and 80% are men. 92% of CBS shows have 0 or 1 black writer. AMC, TBS, and TNT have no women showrunners, no people of color showrunners. Again, AMC and TBS fail as Showtime joins them because they have 0 or 1 black writer total. And finally, Hulu has not a single black writer on any of their shows. If you're not outraged by these numbers, A, why are you watching this show? And B, what kind of horrible self-absorbed life could breed such a devil? If these numbers were reversed, you'd be tweeting angrily as you shoved your dick in the tip of your gun. These networks need to get it together, not just with black writers and people in charge, but with everyone involved. Let women lead a series or host a show, and I promise you, they will not bleed all over the studio. Give Muslims more and non-stereotypical representation on TV. I'm sure they'd love to work in a coffee shop and have white problems too. Do what you want your work to say. If you're writing stories about inclusion and fitting in, find the people who haven't fit in for their entire lives. At that point, it can only get better from there. And that's all the news I have for you for this week on C Plus News Time. Why don't you subscribe and check out one of our other videos? Of course, you can head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where we've got so many things that it makes a flannel pattern look good. You can follow us on Twitter at cpluscomedy. Follow me on Twitter at ChadBlackWhite. Like us on Facebook. Listen to the Constitutionalist podcast. And be sure, if you're going on the Odyssey, bring Mario with you.